We want to talk, because I know a lot of people are anxious to hear about this, and this is the fact that since we have last met, the Citizens for Equity in Government, I hope I have that group's name correct, I think I do, has been able to obtain the number of signatures needed for a petition. Larry Brewer, Board of Elections, has certified that, and it has been presented, and there will be a special election held within the city of Hickory to determine how the ward representatives, our council people, if you will be elected. Now, this is something I know that you have made no bones about your opposition to the actual changing of the way that the ward representation, the voting goes on that. But we have talked before, you've got to feel pretty good about the fact that this was done legally. This was done with all the steps. This was done by people who felt like maybe they had a problem with the way things were being done. They took it in their own hands and they changed, or at least have gotten a petition and a referendum that they have the opportunity to put on the ballot. You got to feel good about that in the city and the way things work. Am I right? You tell me.
Well, absolutely. I think this is a great exercise in democracy. It's the way I've described it, and I think it's very important that people feel empowered to pursue redress, if you will, of things that they believe should be changed.
I hate to interrupt you, but we'll go to break right now. When we come back, we'll talk more about that. Mayor Rudy Wright, our guest this morning. More First Talk on the way. Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. It's the monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor. Mayor Rudy Wright, the mayor of the city of Hickory, joins us this morning. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Before we went to the break, we were talking about the special election that will be held for the way that we choose, as voters, that we choose our aldermen, our city council representatives. And you said great exercise in democracy. You have made in the past no secret about your personal feelings about this and the representation. But before we went to the break, you were talking about a wonderful opportunity for an exercise in democracy and a way of redress of grievances from the public. Well,
and I am so proud of the fact that our city charter provides for the ability of the citizens to do this. Now, we had people. The requirement was that the petitions had to be signed by 10% or more of the registered voters in the city.
Of the registered voters, okay.
And my understanding is that the petition was signed by something around 10.5%, right, which certainly meets the requirement. But since that time, and before the petition was completed, there were calls for city council to just approve this new form of this pure ward representation. Before that, there were calls for us to approve the referendum to get it on the ballot. I personally, for this issue, would have been glad to vote to put it on the ballot and not require them to get the petition, because I do think this is an issue that's worthy of citizen input.
Going to the polls.
It's fine, yeah. However, we did not do that because we knew that had council taken it upon itself to put that on a ballot, right, and have a referendum, we would have been hit with frivolous requests.
Okay, gotcha. Sure. And
there would have been other changes. There would have been.
You set a precedent by doing that. You say this is what we believe this, and then all of a sudden someone comes up with another request and says, "Well, I want this. How come you're not willing to put it on a referendum for me or for our group?"
Exactly. So rather than make a judgment on the merits of any item to go on a referendum,
right,
unless it's something that's required by law, we're going to require people to go through the petition process. That way, that completely frivolous request will not come to us and have very partisan people, perhaps, demanding that it be put on just like this one. No, get the petitions, get the 10% of the signatures, and do it.
This is going to be a big thing for the city of Hickory.
It is an important issue and will greatly change, if it were to pass, it would greatly change Hickory city government. I'm not going to say it would be the end of the world, certainly, because it clearly would not be. I would hope that even with a pure ward representation, we would elect people who care about the city of Hickory at large. But I think the people I have talked to have almost unanimously said they would rather have a say in the votes for 6 council members rather than just 1.
We're going to, as a radio station, hopefully what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to host an open debate that will allow both sides to speak freely on the issues and be able to speak freely on the pros and the cons and also their beliefs about the... so hopefully we're going to do that. We've got the same size chairs in here. I've told you that story before.
Yeah.
We had one candidate who said, my chair wasn't as tall as the other one. So we've got the exact same chairs here and the exact same microphones. So we'll do that, and I would hope that both sides, the pros and the cons, the for and against, would select representatives, and we'll try to have a representative in before and have that on the air so that listeners will have an opportunity to hear about both sides. And I'm going to put that out there this morning. That I have not talked to management about this yet, but generally they're all for things like this, and I can't imagine why they would be opposed to that. But that's something we like to do. Like I said, we've got the matching chairs already. We have people on the air, so we'd like to do that. And I know that City Council is also hosting Ralph was talking about it on the news this morning, hosting a special meeting tomorrow night after the City Council meeting that will discuss this special election and also discuss the language that is going to be proposed on the ballot. And you want community input on that, is that correct?
Well, we are going to approach this the way we approach everything. Transparent. We're asking for citizen input. We have developed a starting point for a discussion of the date of the election, and there is some leeway in that date. The date we have presently selected is October the 2nd, and that was selected because it is really the only non-subjective date. It meets the requirements of not being too close to the election.
Right.
It meets the requirement of giving both sides as much time as possible to be prepared.
Okay.
So October the 2nd is selected because it is non-subjective. But if someone comes up with a date that's better,
right,
and explains to us why it's better, then we are very receptive to changing that date.
So plan for right now is October 2nd. That's right. The plan.
The wording of the ballot, we have been very careful to word it in a manner that hopefully doesn't lead the person to a conclusion.
Now, you've been working with the Board of Elections on that, is that right? Or is the council?
We work with the local Board of Election and the state Board of Elections.
Okay.
It has to be a fair ballot and a fair question, and of course that's the only way we would want to do it. So, but we want citizen input tomorrow night to tell us that we agree it's the right date.
The wording is good,
the wording is good,
or we like the wording, or we would like to massage this a little bit and talk a little bit about this. So that's why you're opening it up.
So we are going to listen. Now, the ultimate responsibility for the wording,
right,
clearly lies with City Council.
Okay. So
we can't say, by a show of hands, you tell us how you want to word this and do it that way.
Right.
We have to vote in public on what the wording is going to be.
Now that has to be approved by the Board of Elections, does it not?
And then it has to be approved by the Board of Elections.
Okay, right.
But we are going to listen. Our desire is to present a totally unbiased ballot. Now, when the groups get together and debate, for example, I would not want to be party to that because somehow I feel that being an elected official and party to that debate, we need to have people, we need to have citizens who are not affiliated with government or tied in with a particular political party, have them meet and debate this.
We got to go to break. More First Talk right after this. Before we went to the break, because we've got other things that we do want to talk about this morning, before we went to the break, you were saying that as far as the discussion goes, and when we do debate this, and when we have representatives join us here on the air, that you're going to recuse yourself. You didn't say recuse, but you're going to step aside and maybe let some other folks get in here and talk about that, because you feel as an elected official, you're going to kind of stand back from this one as far as the debates go.
As far as debates go.
Right.
Because...
as far as Mr. Rudy Wright, you're going to speak your mind.
Oh, I'm going to speak my mind. I will be speaking to civic groups, church groups, anyone who wants to talk about this. I will be speaking out, and I will be speaking out to preserve the combination system we presently have, which I'm convinced is the best form possible. Austin, Texas is the... considered to be probably the most liberal city in the Southeast. They have a pure at-large system. And, I mean, if 20 people on the same street side by side could get the most votes across that city, they would be the 20 council members there. So if it works there and does so without any significant amount of opposition, it certainly should work for us. 40,000 people. Each council member represents 6,600 people, which translates to about 700 voters each election. I know that sounds awful, but that's what it translates to. So a council member now represents 700 voters. That's if you go to the simple ward system. At large is 3,500 voters. Is that right? Yeah. No. 3,600 voters. What did I say? I don't know. Something under 4,000 voters. That gives you a good say-so in every councilman's election.
Now, one of the things I think that we'll find, and this is just me, and I don't know, but I think that we'll have spirited debate. I think that we'll have a lot of people on both sides who will be able to talk about and be able to articulate their views. And I hope, and I certainly believe, that we'll be able to keep this, we'll be able to disagree without being disagreeable. I think that that's probably the way that we're going to look at this. That's the way I'm going into it. Well, certainly hope that
it certainly should end. It should be that way.
And
absolutely.
And that's the way that we'll be in the studio. I can tell you, I don't have any control over what happens outside the studio. But when we have a debate, we will hope to have spirited debate, and we hope to have a polite discourse. That's what we're looking forward to. So thank you for your opinions on that. We look forward to hearing from the representatives of both groups. And as we get closer to the election, we'll set that date. And as we get closer to, of course, after the meeting, we'll try to stay on top of this and find out what's going on so our listeners can stay up to speed and involved as well. So we want them to be able to do that.
We had a caller call in and wanted my cell phone number.
Right.
And as I always do, I will give it 238. 1465.
1465. 238-1465. And I hope you turn that off at a decent hour.
Well, I do turn it off at about 8 p.m. at night. So don't call me after 8 p.m.
No, that's just inappropriate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I charge it up. So
there you go.
Incidentally, the city does not pay for my cell phone.
Okay.
That's strictly a personal expense, even though probably half of my calls are city-related.
Structure downtown, how close are we?
Well, the naming, we're going to name it next Thursday.
Okay.
I don't know what's the leading vote is. I've submitted my 20 top choices.
Okay.
And the way I picked my 20 is very simple. I had my 3 interns from Hickory High School, Leadership Hickory or Leadership Catawba, whatever it was. and I gave them the list, and I said, y'all come up with the 20 best.
There you go.
So I've submitted mine, and we'll see where it goes from there.
So the actual naming is going to take place Thursday, right?
Next Thursday.
Not this Thursday.
Not this Thursday,
but next Thursday.
And that's my understanding, unless we don't reach consensus or we decide to sleep on it.
More and more people that I have talked to, because I've asked people, and I've asked them, hopefully, a very open question, what do you think of the structure downtown? And I'm going to say that 90% of the people have said, well, let's wait and see. That's what I'm hearing. I haven't heard people say, "Oh, it's no," or "Yeah." I haven't heard, but what I've heard, overwhelming majority is, let's wait and see. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing much the same thing, and of course, I've tried to visualize it, and what I really like about it is, we've got that beautiful 50s downtown look. The buildings in the straight row and all, what we all grew up with, right? The 5 and dime back in Virginia, the 5 and dime next to the pharmacy and all. We didn't have a wine shop, but I love having that wine shop. I think that's a great thing for our community. But then next to it, you're going to have something that I say it's vaguely reminiscent of the Sydney Opera House, which is one of the 10 greatest architectural achievements of the 20th century, according to Time magazine. So, now, incidentally, folks, don't make fun of me for comparing this with the architectural achievement of
it's got the sails.
The Sydney Opera House.
I know what you're talking about.
And the Sydney Opera House, that's clamshells, isn't it? Is it clamshell or is it sails? I don't know, but I think the juxtaposition of the 50s and the 21st century is going to be stark. I think it's going to be interesting, and it will have people talking. So I'm excited to see it, and I think that most people in Hickory are going to be proud of it.
Very good. 327 WHKY 327-9459, taking your phone calls and your questions for the mayor this morning. 327 WHKY 327-9459.